Good morning, students. Good morning, students. Welcome back once again in social science subject, live class for standard 8. Okay. Yes, be online, students, fast. Okay. Yes, I hope now the visibility of the board is quite okay, students. Yes, Arya Tapase, please inform me, is the board is visible properly? Okay, good beta. So, yesterday we have started with the revision and we have started on classification of resources, that is types of resource. So, resources can be classified into three broad categories. What are these three broad categories, beta? Natural resources, human-made resources, and human resources. Yesterday, I also explained the difference between the human-made resources and human resources. Okay, so that I have explained to you in yesterday's session. Okay, beta, and then we have started again the explanation related to the natural resource. Again, the natural resources can be classified on the basis of different criteria. Okay, so one of the criteria that we have taken in yesterday's live class was on the level of development. Okay, so which criteria we have discussed in yesterday's session, beta? It is level of development. Okay, so on the basis of level of development, the resources can be classified into two categories. What are these two categories, beta? These two categories are actual resources and potential resources. Okay, so let us just have a small revision on this. What are actual resources and what are potential resources? Okay, so the first criteria is on the basis of level of development. Okay, so on the basis of level of development, the resources can be classified into two categories. What are these two categories, beta? Actual resources. Okay, now what are actual resources? Okay, what are actual resources? Okay, so actual resources are those resources whose quantity is known. Okay, so these are the resources. These are the resources whose quantity are known. Okay, so these are the resources whose quantity are known. Okay, जिसकी क्वांटिटी हमें क्या है, नोन है, पता है. ओके, so the actual resources are those resources whose quantity is known. Okay, these resources are presently these resources are presently used by, okay, actual resources are presently used by human being to fulfill their to fulfill their needs. Okay, so what are actual resources? These are the resources whose quantity is known. ये ऐसे resources हैं जिनकी quantity के बारे में हमें पता है कि how much we have it. Okay, then these are presently used by human being to fulfill their needs. इन resources का use हम लोग कर रहे हैं, अभी प्रेजेंट में कर रहे हैं, टू फुलफिल अवर नीड्स. ओके, नाउ देन द सेकंड डिवीजन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ लेवल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट इज पोटेंशियल रिसोर्सेज. ओके, so what is the second division on the basis of level of development? So on the basis of level of development, resources can be classified as potential resource. Okay, actual resource we already discussed. Now potential resource. Okay, these are, okay, these are the resources. These are the resources whose entire quantity okay, so what are potential resource? These are the resources whose entire quantity is not known and presently, okay, so what are potential resources beta? These are the resources whose entire quantity is not known and, okay, presently these are not used up to commercial level. Okay, now so in case of the potential resources, what is, these are the resources whose entire quantity is not known. ये ऐसे resources हैं जिनकी पूरी क्वांटिटी के बारे में हमें पता नहीं है. Okay, it means that at present stage good development of the technical know-how and quantity is not conducted for these product. ये जो प्रोडक्ट हैं इनकी क्वांटिटी के बारे में, इनकी मात्रा के बारे में अभी तक कुछ भी कंडक्ट नहीं किया गया है. ओके, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट वी आर नॉट एबल टू यूज देम एट प्रेजेंट. ओके, इसलिए उनको अभी हम क्या नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, these are not used up to commercial level. कमर्शियल लेवल मतलब जितनी हमारी जरूरत है उसके हिसाब से हम उसे अभी यूज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। अब अभी यूज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, बट जितना हमें मतलब ह्यूमन बीइंग्स को, साइंटिस्ट को जो कुछ जानकारी मिली है उसके हिसाब से इट इज श्योर दैट दीज आर वेरी यूजफुल फॉर अस। रिसोर्सेज हमारे लिए यूजफुल हैं, ये बात अलग है कि अभी उनकी पूरी क्वांटिटी के बारे में नहीं पता, पूरी कैपेसिटी के बारे में नहीं पता, एंड वी डोंट हैव टेक्निकल नॉलेज टू यूटिलाइज दीज रिसोर्सेज। ओके, सो these resources could be used in the future. Okay, the level of technology we have at present may not be advanced enough to easily utilize these resources. अभी जो फिलहाल में लेवल ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे पास में है वो इतनी ज्यादा वेल एडवांस नहीं है कि हम क्या कर सकें, इन रिसोर्सेस का यूज एट प्रेजेंट में कर सकें। ओके, सो वी कॉल दीज रिसोर्सेज एज ए पोटेंशियल रिसोर्स। इज देयर एनी डाउट बेटा इन दिस वन? ओके, नाउ सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज दैट वी डिस्कस्ड, ओके, on the basis of level of development. Okay, now the second criteria according to which we can divide the resources are on the basis of origin. Okay, what does it mean? The resources can be classified, I am repeating again, the natural resources can also be classified on the basis of origin. ठीक है, origin मतलब कहां से उन resources को हम प्राप्त कर रहे हैं। So on the basis of origin, resources can be classified again into two categories. Okay, so on the basis of origin, the resources can be classified into two categories. Now the first category is biotic resources. Okay, so the first category is what beta? Biotic resources. Now what are biotic resources? These resources are living beings. These resources are living beings or obtained from living beings. Okay, so what does it mean, beta? The biotic resources, these resources are living beings. Biotic resources कैसे होते हैं? Living होते हैं, है ना? For example, the human being is using dog, cow, horse, buffalo and many other birds, okay, as a resource. So the resource themselves are the living. The resources themselves are the living, okay, or the products that we are getting from these. Okay, for example, from hen we are getting what? We are getting chicken or the eggs. Okay, crops are the living, and from the crops we are getting the cereals, okay, or different type of grains, vegetables, okay. So that is what, those are biotic resources. So the biotic resources are living beings और they obtain from living beings, या तो वो खुद ही लिविंग बींग्स होगा या उससे जो वस्तु प्राप्त हुई है, तो जो वस्तु का जिस प्रोडक्ट का यूज हम कर रहे हैं दैट वी आर गेटिंग फ्रॉम लिविंग बींग्स, ओके. नाउ contrast to this, the second classification is abiotic resources, okay. What is the second classification? The second classification is abiotic resources, okay. Now, so what are abiotic resources? And we are getting chicken, ठीक है, okay. चलिए, so abiotic resources. So very clearly, these are the resources, okay. So what are abiotic resources? These are the resources which are, these are the resources which are non-living, okay. So what are biotic resources? These resources are living beings or we obtain from living beings. Abiotic resources, these are the resources which are non-living, okay. ऐसे resources जो non-living हैं, okay, that we are getting these resources, okay, from nature. Now what type of resources can be considered as a abiotic resource, okay. So the best example of the abiotic resources are all the minerals. The best example of abiotic resources are all the minerals that we obtain from earth, okay. Then the valuable soil which is required for growing crops, okay, and the different type of rocks. So minerals, soil and rocks that we are getting from earth crust are what? Abiotic resources. Why? Because these are non-living, okay. So in a short, abiotic resources are those resources which are non-living. abiotic resources वो resources होंगे जो non-living हैं. Got it? So this is what the second criteria, okay. On the basis of the second criteria, that is on the basis of origin, resources can be classified into two categories: biotic resources and abiotic resources, okay. Then the third classification is on the basis of, the third classification is on the basis of exhaustibility. Okay, so the third classification, I am repeating again, the third classification of resources, natural resources, is on the basis of exhaustibility. Now what is द मीनिंग ऑफ एग्जॉस्टिबिलिटी, एग्जॉस्टिबिलिटी बेसिकली मीन्स कि वो समाप्त हो सकते हैं या नहीं हो सकते। ओके बेटा, सो ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ एग्जॉस्टिबिलिटी द रिसोर्सेज कैन बी क्लासिफाइड इनटू टू कैटेगरीज। ओके, so the first category is what? Renewable resources. Okay, so on the basis of exhaustibility, resources can be classified as renewable resources. Okay, now what are renewable resources? These are the resources which can be reproduced or renewed in considerable time period. Okay, so what are the renewable resources? These are the resources which can be reproduced or renewed. ये वो रिसोर्सेज हैं जिन्हें रिप्रोड्यूस किया जा सकता है, रिन्यूड किया जा सकता है इन कंसिडरेबल टाइम पीरियड। कंसिडरेबल टाइम पीरियड मतलब इनको प्रोड्यूस होने में बहुत बहुत ज्यादा समय नहीं लगता, एक पर्याप्त समय में प्रोड्यूस हो जाए। Contrast to this, we have classification as non-renewable resources. Okay, so contrast to this, the next classification is what beta? Non-renewable resources. Okay, now so these cannot be, these means these resources cannot be reproduced. I am repeating again, these resources cannot be reproduced or renewed in considerable टाइम पीरियड। ओके, कंसिडरेबल टाइम पीरियड मतलब एक पर्याप्त समय। इस पर्याप्त समय में these cannot be reproduced or renewed. Okay, so the non-renewable resources, these cannot be reproduced or renewed in considerable time period. एक considerable time period में ये resources रिप्रोड्यूस नहीं हो सकते, रिन्यूड नहीं हो सकते। ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल पेट्रोलियम। ठीक है, ऑल ऑफ यू नोस व्हाट इज पेट्रोलियम, है ना? इट इज अ रॉ मटेरियल विच वी sometimes called as crude oil also, and from this we got number of derivatives, the petrol, diesel, okay, then LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, and many other byproducts. If as far as concerned about the science, okay, the science के हिसाब से हम देखें तो पेट्रोलियम कैन बी प्रोड्यूस्ड। पेट्रोलियम क्या हो सकता है? दोबारा प्रोड्यूस हो सकता है, दोबारा बन सकता है। ठीक है, साइंस में वी हैव स्टडीड द प्रोसेस ऑफ प्रोडक्शन ऑफ पेट्रोलियम, कि किस तरीके से पेट्रोलियम बना। ये हम साइंस में पढ़ते हैं कि कोल और पेट्रोलियम किस तरीके से फॉर्म होते हैं। इट मींस देयर इज अ प्रोसेस ऑफ द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ कोल एंड पेट्रोलियम। ओके, सो साइंस के नजरिए से देखा जाए तो पेट्रोलियम कैन बी प्रोड्यूस्ड, बट the entire process of production of petroleum takes millions of years. पेट्रोलियम की जो प्रोडक्शन की प्रोसेस है इन ए नेचर, ठीक है, इट टेक्स मिलियंस ऑफ ईयर, उसमें बहुत सारे साल लग जाते हैं, करोड़ों साल का समय। ओके, तो अब 1 करोड़ साल तक यदि आज पेट्रोलियम खत्म हो गया और वो पेट्रोलियम 1 करोड़ साल के बाद प्रोड्यूस होने वाला है, तो वो हमारे किसी काम का नहीं है एट प्रेजेंट। ओके, so that is why we have used a word what considerable time period, यानी रिप्रोड्यूस तो हो परंतु उस पर्याप्त समय में जिसमें कि वो हमें हमारी ही लाइफ में दोबारा यूज करने के लिए मिल सके। ओके, so that is what renewable and non-renewable resources. Okay, so that is the third criteria. What is the third criteria according to which we have divided the resource? The third criteria is on the basis of exhaustibility. Okay, so on the basis of exhaustibility, the resources can be classified into two categories: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Okay, beta. Now the next is, that is the next criteria is on the basis of distribution. On the basis of distribution. Now distribution basically means whether the resources are available in all the part of the world or the resources is available in some part of the world and the same resource may not be available in another part of the world. Okay, so that is what the concept of on the basis of distribution, कि किस तरीके से रिसोर्सेस बटे हुए हैं। ओके, so on the basis of distribution, resources can be classified as ubiquitous. Okay, ubiquitous resources. Okay, now what are ubiquitous resources? These are the resources. These are the resources which are equally available in most part of the world. Okay, I am repeating it better. These are the resources which are equally available in most part of the world. Okay, so what are the ubiquitous resources, beta? These are the resources which are equally available in most part of the world. संसार के लगभग सभी हिस्सों में इक्वली ये रिसोर्सेस क्या होंगे, अवेलेबल होंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल एयर, air is equally available in most part of the world. ऐसा नहीं है कि इंडिया में एयर अवेलेबल है पाकिस्तान में नहीं, ठीक है। लाइकवाइज एयर व्हाट इज अवेलेबल sunlight. Okay, so sunlight is also a resource which is equally available in most part of the world. Got it? So all those resources which are equally available in most part of the world are ubiquitous resource. Okay, then contrast to this, localized resources. ठीक है, इसी के कॉन्ट्रास्ट में which resources we have? Localized resources. ठीक है, so resources are ubiquitous resources and second is what? Localized resources. Okay, now so when we talk about localized resource, यदि हम किसकी बात करें? Localized resources की. Okay, it means that these resources are not equally available in all the parts of world, in all parts of the world. ठीक है, so localized resources. What are localized resources, beta? These resources are not equally available in all parts of the world. वर्ल्ड के सारे हिस्सों में इक्वली अवेलेबल नहीं है ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल वी टॉक अबाउट diamond. If we talk about gold, okay, so diamond is a mineral, gold is also a mineral. These are the two most valuable resources in terms of money. But in all the countries of the world, diamond is not available. There are many countries in the world which don't have diamonds naturally occurring. ठीक है, वर्ल्ड के बहुत सारे कंट्रीज में डायमंड नेचुरली अवेलेबल नहीं होता. ओके, सेम इज द केस ऑफ बेटा व्हाट? गोल्ड. Gold is also not available naturally in most of the countries of the world. Okay, so these are the condition of localized resources. Okay, so localized resources वो resources होंगे, got it, which are available only in certain part of the world, not equally available in all the parts of the world. Okay, the distribution of natural resources. Okay, so that is what we have discussed so far about the classification of resources, and that is only natural resources. Okay, so natural resources can be classified into 4 categories. Okay, on the basis of 4 criteria. Okay, so first criteria is on the basis of level of development. The second criteria is on the basis of their origin. The third criteria is on the basis of their exhaustibility. Okay, and the fourth criteria is on the basis of their distribution. Okay, now as far as concerned about the distribution of natural resources, okay, So the distribution of the distribution of the distribution of natural resources, the distribution of natural resources depends upon, okay, I am repeating again, the distribution of natural resources depends upon, okay, the distribution of natural resources depends upon number of physical factors. I am repeating again, the distribution of natural resources depends upon number of physical factors, okay, like terrain, TERRAIN. Terrain means type of land. Terrain means beta type of land. Okay. So terrain means type of land. So type of land means whether the land is a plain, a mountainous region, or if it is a marshy region. Okay. So the distribution depends on terrain, then climate of that area, okay, and altitude, okay, altitude means उस जगह की height कितनी है, got it? So depending upon these physical factors, the distribution of resources depends, and that is the reason the resources are not equally distributed. Okay, so the distribution of natural resources depends on number of physical factors. Okay, so the distribution of natural resources depends on number of physical factors. What are these? Terrain, climate and altitude. Okay, तो किसी भी एरिया में रिसोर्सेज कितने अवेलेबल हैं, क्या क्या रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं, वो किस पर डिपेंड करेगा? टेरियन पर, क्लाइमेट और एल्टीट्यूड पर. नाउ ऑल दीज फैक्टर्स आर नॉट इक्वली available, okay, in different parts of the world. That is, these factors are different at different parts of the world. Okay, because of that, what happens? The resources are also not equally available. ये जो factors हैं, terrain, climate और altitude, ठीक है? These factors are different in different parts of the world. So because of the difference in these factors, what happens? The resources are also differently available in different parts of the world. So that is what as far as concerned about the natural resources. Okay, so tomorrow we'll discuss on two topics: human made resources, and then we'll discuss on human resources. Got it? So that's all for today's class. Thank you, students. Goodbye.